Welcome to another episode of Mundelein Minute, and we're here for a special episode. I have a lot of stuff to go through today. Before we do, I'm just going to jump in and say my name is Eric Schwenk. I'm a trustee in the Village of Mundelein.
Me too. I'm Kara Lambert.
You're
I'm
also
a trustee in the Village of Mundelein.
And today I have my C hat on, and although it normally stands for Cubs, I'm wearing a candidate hat today, not the trustee hat. And I think we try to separate some of this stuff. It's also kind of hard to.
But we're going to try as hard as we can to be as very neutral on this topic as possible, and just show facts. And Eric's going to calm down and not give his opinion as much as he wants to. He may give his opinion. Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
But we're just going to try to just give facts and show and make this like really easy to understand, because like what went on this week is insanely complicated and insanely full of legalese, which has always been like the goal of ours, to make things not in that
and not
realm.
spend a lot of money on legal.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is, before we get started, my house, my cameras,
Your cat.
my cat, house, microphones. There's a bird. There's 3 cats. There's a couple of kids, a wife running around. I mean, there's a lot going on in this house. So sorry if there's background noise.
Yes.
Now, you may be wondering, what
on earth are you talking about,
because we've
Trustee
sure
Schwenk?
beat around the bush a lot, but we haven't gotten into it. And I am sitting here with all of this paperwork, and these
Oh my God, I just
are,
looked, and it's my packet is like the very first packet that you're looking at.
Yep, we're gonna tear it up. So I'm sitting here with 4 out of the 5 packets. I don't have a copy of my own.
Unbelievable.
I'm guilty.
Unbelievable.
I know. I have a digital copy because I scan and keep all of them. And I also have 2 objections written by Terry Voss, who is a former trustee. And we're going to get into some of what has happened in the past 2 weeks or so since packets were
due December 19th.
19th.
Yes.
So since that time frame, then there's a 5-day business days of when you can submit objections.
So basically,
in writing.
this is like happened since December 27th.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, the holidays slow everything down. And then there was a hearing, a decision, and now
that's where we are.
We're kind of in a waiting period now to see what's happening next.
Yeah.
So
If
we're going to
anything
go through.
happens next.
Correct. We're going to go through and talk about some of what Terry Voss wrote as her objections. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the election law. And
Woo! Just what you want to discuss on
Yeah,
Saturday night.
right?
Ew.
So here is Kara's packet.
I'm
And
sick to my stomach.
yep, there is quite a few things that are required. So this front sheet at the bottom, I'm going to put all this up on the screen so that as we go through these packets, there'll be a lot. I know this is breaking my editing rule.
Oh, yeah. You never edit it.
I never edit this podcast, but today I definitely am going to have to get all of this up there. So there's a few documents like the statement of candidacy. This front page is a receipt that the village gives you when you fill your stuff out or when you drop it off. You also have to have the statement of candidacy, the economic interest form from 2022, which we as elected officials are required to complete every year. And the clerk's office is very good about hounding us on that.
Yes.
You have to have signature pages.
Which sucks, by the way. These packets, not to make light of this, but this package requires so much information, and to make sure you do it the right way. And my husband will attest to this. I am awful doing this because I yell at everyone if there's anything wrong, and I make them fix it, and then I yell at them more that they did it wrong. So
Sure.
it's a pain.
It is.
It is a pain.
So this is the petition. This is sheet number 1 of Kara's packet. And I'm going to hold this up because this is friendly. And I can
nervous.
talk about yours because you're here. So at the top, you'll see that there's a heading that it says that the qualified voters in the Village of Mundelein, and it says that these people are petitioning for the candidate's name for Kara Lambert with her name, her address, and her phone number to be added to the ballot for the position of trustee for the village, and that she's selected for the full term. Unexpired term would be if somebody resigned prior to the 2-year mark, then there would be an open 2-year term and somebody could run for that position. So then either the candidate or their volunteers go out and collect signatures.
on their behalf, and they have to follow the same rules we do, right? Like,
Yep.
you have to have it filled out right, you have to get it notarized, you have to fill in the paperwork correctly, and if you don't, then you're getting yelled at by me, or your
Yes.
signatures don't count.
Correct. So in this case, the person that collected this is Amber Reed Schwenk, my wife, and she collected these people's signatures. She filled out this statement at the bottom, which is an oath. It's an affidavit that was sworn to in front of a notary. That notary, in this case, happens to be me. I am a notary. I have taken the training and the handbook. I've gotten the bond. I did all the paperwork and did all the stuff necessary to be a notary because of issues or circumstances like this. It's handy to have at times. So notarizing a document for my wife is absolutely fine and legal. And she swore to and attested to this. So there's lots of items that have to be filled out just right.
And it's not our rules.
It's not our rules.
It's
It's per the election code.
which is state statute.
And it's right there at the top of the form. And this form is provided by the county. So things like the header, the state law is clear that the header on every petition must be the same. It's very clear that your address must be included, that your phone number must be included.
Right.
And those are items that have to be there, as is the confirmation from whoever collected the signatures from the circulator. Their circulator, oh my gosh, what is it called? The circulator's affidavit. Has to be
Affidavit,
there.
yeah.
So those are the necessary parts. And in this last election, or this last packet signing and submissions, it's actually not even this last one. It's pretty common for people to collect the packets, and it is the
Well,
right.
then you know who's running against you, right? I
Well,
mean, I don't know,
sure. So,
right?
so I get them because I want to see who's running against me. Absolutely, that's why I do it.
I mean,
And I want to see who's supporting them, and there's some of the behind the scenes to running for office, and that's
The
why I
strategery.
do it. The strategery, absolutely. Now, the election code says that if things in the packet are not correct, then somebody who is a registered voter in the district, they use the word district, so in this
village.
instance, it would be the Village of Mundelein. If you were running for library, it'd be whatever that library district is, or the school board district. They all have their own lines.
Right.
So somebody that is a registered voter within the Village of Mundelein can file a petition with the village, because we are not we, but the village is the election authority for now, and it has to be in writing and state what their objection is. And that's where Terry Voss took this process for two individuals. One is Ramesh Sharma, and the second is Kirsten Russell. And both of these individuals have run for office before. This is not their first time submitting packets. And Terry Voss submitted these petitions and pointed out what she felt were deficiencies in the packets. And that's where I wanted to spend a little bit of time today and go through.
Are you gonna put that up here?
The objections?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually just thinking about this. I'm not only going to put them up, but I'll link to all the files.
Okay.
So you can see all of the petition packets. You can see for all 5 candidates that are currently running, and both of the objections. And all of the objections were also part of the hearing information online.
Cool.
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 So let's start with, let's see here. Let's start with Mr. Sharma, with Ramesh Sharma. And Ramesh filed a packet that had a lot of blank fields. A lot of blank fields. So he submitted, oh, you know what? I should talk about the number of signatures before we do this.
Well, you're gonna. Okay.
'Cause it's gonna
but
come
be
into
quick,
it.
because otherwise people are gonna get bored.
Oh, that's
Because this
true.
is gonna be long if you get into the really nitty gritty.
That's true. Okay.
10,000
so,
feet. Flight attendant Eric, 10,000 feet.
Oh, a lot higher than that. Okay.
50,000
So in
feet.
past elections, the county has put out the number of required signatures and said you need here's the minimum, here's the maximum. In this
And it was
election
given by
cycle,
the county.
given by the county.
Let's put that out there.
Part
And
of
it's
the
based
packet.
on the total number of votes cast in the previous election and a percentage of that, 5 to 8%.
5 to 8% of the
No less
total
than 5, no
number
more
of-
than 8.
of voters in the last election.
Right.
Not votes, voters.
Voters, correct.
So this election, the past clerk, Robin O'Connor, did not include that information. Note that we have switched clerks in the middle of petition signing process.
Correct.
So we started with Robin O'Connor. We are now under Anthony Vega, who's the current clerk as of December 1st of 2022.
Correct.
So here we are.
Which, by the way, the county clerk is not required by law to give that number, which is why they stopped doing it.
Correct.
Even
so the
though
county
it makes
clerk
things way clearer.
is not required to give you that number. I know that the person who filed the objection called the county clerk to get that number and was told no. And that if you go on to the county clerk's website, it says official results. I actually already recorded this screen, so I will show you here while I talk over it. If you go to the official results, go over to the summary PDF, or not PDF, but the summary file, download it, search for Mundelein, and go over to the column. It literally says ballots cast. That's the number of people who voted in the last election. So that was the number that these objections were based off of.
Right.
Now, the county clerk gave the Village of Mundelein a file that had different numbers in it. And they gave that file early on, and that's where the county got their...
the village got their number.
Their village got their number of 188 for signatures required. And personally, by my own calculations, off of the county clerk's website, I saw it as 219, as did Terry Voss and other people.
And the way that the wording was written on the candidate documents that the village provided was, it was 188 signatures with the caveat of consult your own election attorney and make sure that you are doing your due diligence yourself.
Correct.
So you did that.
And it's also my understanding that the Village of Mundelein is the only municipality to publish that information this cycle.
Okay.
So here we are looking through Ramesh Sharma's packet. I'm going to just jump through and say, okay, statement of candidacy form. And I did highlight some stuff here. He didn't insert a term. So it's not either full term or unexpired term. He just didn't submit a term. Going through, his statement of economic interest form is present. He goes into a lot of detail. Cool. There's a certification of deletions. He deleted a couple of signatures. And then on page 1, there's no full term or unexpired term is selected. And that's actually the same on all of the petition pages, all 23 pages. That was not selected once. On this one, down in the circulator's affidavit, they failed to fill in the word lake. At the top of page 2, the county's not filled in. And if you remember, the header is required to be the same on all pages. Again, on page 3, the header's not filled in correctly. Page 4, personally, I don't see any errors. You're welcome to keep looking. Page 5, county's not filled in, address and telephone number are not filled in, and those are required. Additionally, there was one signature that was struck on signature line 10, and number 2 lived outside the Village of Mundelein. 5-digit addresses generally, now we learned in another hearing with Kirsten Russell's packet with the Belo property that they are now included, but they haven't been given a 4-digit number. Yeah. So that still happens sometimes. On this page, number 6, number 2, he's 16 years old. He's a minor. Number 8 lives outside the Village of Mundelein.
So, like, high level again. There was just numerous errors on these.
Lots of errors. Number 3 was struck on page number 9. So that one had already been struck. When we go to page number 10, sheet number 10, number 4 and number 7 were outside the Village of Mundelein. Page, let's see, there's page 12. Page number 14, the top, there's no village, there's no municipality, there's no county. Line number 10 is outside the Village of Mundelein. Sheet number 15, signature number 8, there's just nothing legible there. Oops. Sheet number 16.
Phone number.
The phone number is not completed. County is not entered at the bottom. So there's just lots of errors throughout these packets. And you'll see if you look through the other packets, one of the mistakes, in my opinion, that Mr. Sharma made is that he hand wrote out the top of each petition. Myself, and I know Kara, we create one document.
Just one document. Just print it.
Print it.
Hit print.
And when you send it to people and you say, hey, will you collect signatures for me? Here's the same document.
Yep.
And you just only fill out the top portion with your information, so it is the same on every sheet. The heading is always the same. So number 19, sheet number 19, county is missing again. Sheet number 20, county is missing, as well as on number 7, the address is outside the village of Mundelein. Number 21, the county is missing again. Sheet number 22, county is missing. And as well as signature number 10 was struck. And then on the last page, sheet number 23, signature number 10 was of course empty, and the county was not filled in. So with the header being not the same on every page, Terry Voss asked that those signatures be struck, that you have to follow the law. And it's not what in my opinion, it's not what the board, not the village board, but the electoral board, which is made up of the senior most trustee, the mayor and the clerk, with counsel from an attorney. It's not what you think, or not erring on the side of one or the other. It is what the law says.
Right, yeah.
So in this one, Terry says that, let's see here, that Ramesh, only submitted 133 signatures, less than the 219. Again, 219 coming off the county's data.
Or even less than the 188 coming off the village's data.
The village's data of 188 or the 219, and that's the county's data from their own official results on their website. And she asked that he be struck from the ballot and not allowed to run, that his paperwork wasn't complete. So at the hearing, there was a lot of information that came out. There was a lot of, in Ramesh's hearing, there was a lot of finger pointing. There was odd statements that Terry Voss needs to be held to a higher standard. Mr. Sharma made the claim that Terry Voss needs to be held to a higher standard because she served 12 years on the village board, and that her standard should be higher than his own, even though he's running for the same position to sit on that same board, for the village board. Okay.
I don't know what that means, but okay, whatever.
And he presented his case, and the electoral board, and of course, Ms. Voss presented hers as well. But the electoral board sided with the candidate and struck some signatures, but not enough to take him below what they say is 188. Yeah, so he survived, if you will, that challenge, and he remains on the ballot. I'm gonna stop there and not say one way or another whether it's
facts, not opinions. Come on.
Yep. So there's that.
Moving on. We'll move on to someone else.
Yes, we'll move on. Let me watch the time here. Okay. So next up is Kirsten Russell, and Kirsten's packet.
I hate that mine is in there. It gives me such anxiety. Jeez.
Robin Myers is in here too. Everybody's packet's in here except for mine because mine's digital.
Oh, what are you, a higher standard?
Well,
speaking of higher standards.
I went and collected the packets from Village Hall myself, and I didn't get a copy of my own.
Unbelievable.
Because I already had a copy digital, and I just scanned the receipt. That's all. I'll add it online.
Please add
people
it
can
online.
see it. Okay, so we're going over Kirsten Russell's packet, and a lot of the beginning lays out the same, that it's 219 signatures is the number that came up with, not from the village's number, but from the county clerk's website. And going through here, you'll see there's some differences. First, on the front page, that the economic interest form was not submitted at the time that the packet was submitted. It was submitted a couple of hours later. This packet was submitted on the deadline of December 19th, and the economic interest form came later. And that is absolutely fine. Illinois law allows for that. You can submit the economic interest form later. You cannot update the rest of your packet later. So you can't submit 20 pages of signatures and then come back and be like, oh, I got 5 pages more, and attach it to your petition. or to your packet. That's not allowed, but it's totally okay. So if you see that on there, that's okay. So we'll go through here real quick. He has the statement of candidacy, the loyalty oath, the economic interest form, and you'll notice that his economic interest form looks different than Mr. Sharma's. As
It's just a receipt.
ours, yep, we just get the receipt. Ours we do online. They send that out to us every year, and
In
then
May,
we get
yep.
we just get a PDF of the receipt, and this is allowable as well. The law says either the form or the receipt that the form was filed with the clerk. So as long as that information is available, that's all that matters.
And I think you can get our economic interest from
Yeah.
the clerk's website.
Yep.
If you're
public
bored,
record.
you know.
Yeah, if you want to see,
read it.
if you want to see it, it's there. Nothing impressive. So one thing to note here is that Kirsten Russell is using a different form than what was provided on the village's website
Yeah,
packet.
it is, yeah.
And it's okay. It still provides the same statement at the top that the undersigned, are the voters of the Village of Mundelein, and that they're seeking to put Kirsten Russell on the ballot for Village of Mundelein trustee. All right. They go through, there's 10 signatures, and then there's the affidavit at the bottom that the circulator fills in and signs. And one thing to note here is that Mr. Russell's packet contains a typed in
Circulator
circulator's
information, yeah.
affidavit and name, and that will come into play a little bit later. So as we go through the packet, there's not as much to point out here because everything is typed in. Where Mr. Sharma's was handwritten and things were forgotten and left out. Not the case here because everything was filled out prior to
Circulating.
circulating it.
Yep.
So page 1 looked good. Page 2, nothing stood out. Page 3 is good. I'm actually just going to skip over to the objection here and say, okay, let's say petition sheet number 4. The circulator's name as assigned was the circulator's name as signed and sworn is misspelled, and that was simply ruled out that it was a typo, basically just a scrivenger's error is what they called it in the ruling.
It's a good word.
Yeah. On sheet number 8, signature number 7 didn't reside in the district. Signature number 8 didn't reside in the district. And those people are outside the Village of Mundelein. Number 12, sheet number 12. See, there's so much to go through. Thanks. Extra hand there. So let's see. Sheet number 12, signatures 8 and 9 are outside the Village of Mundelein. And then on sheet number 20. So the back of the packet for Mr. Russell is where things got a little interesting and where the majority of the arguments came out. So let me get to the back here. All right, so on page number 20, the section was pre-filled for the circulator's name.
Which was himself.
It says that Kirsten Russell circulated this. And then at the bottom, it was signed twice, and the notary says that it was signed by Melvin Saltwich. And Melvin's name appears at the top of that page. So he's stating here that he collected his own signature, and the signature now appears 3 times on the page at line number 1 and twice on the circulator signature, and they appear different. So it was objected to on that note.
Well, also it was objected to because the circulator wasn't him.
Right.
In the information, you're going to put this over
So-
there. But if you look at because Kirsten typed it all in, right? So he typed it all in ahead of time rather than having the circulator fill it out himself.
With his name and address.
So it looks like a different circulator. It's different from who signed it and versus who circulated it, even though in fact Mel probably circulated it.
Correct. So what it comes down to is that Mel Saltwich signed it, stating that he was Kirsten Russell and collected these signatures, which is in fact a false statement made in the presence of a notary. And that's the same then on page 20, 21, and 22. And then when you look at the other, like page 21, one of them was struck out. That's totally fine. When you take these signatures out, because the notaries are invalid, you take out those signatures and he falls below the threshold to run for office. And that's what all of this is about, is upholding what the election law says. And that,
However, again, to not get your opinion in it, the electoral board decided not to
correct.
uphold that.
Correct.
Right.
So sheets 20, 21, and 22, it all came down to the same things, that the notary part of it was
trivial or minor or
messed
whatever.
up.
Yeah.
And they said that, at the hearing, Mel Saltwich appeared and was sworn in and under oath stated that he did in fact circulate that petition and did in fact collect those signatures, and said that he did sign it twice, and explained that he had signed it once, but then the notary said, oh, if you already signed it, you have to sign it in front of me. So that's why he signed it twice. The third member of the panel, a retired judge who was appointed due to a conflict of interest from another trustee who was selected, said, well, why do they look different? And he said, I was rushed.
Yeah.
So he provided answers, and the board decided that those answers were sufficient, and those petition packet pages stayed, and he remains on the ballot.
So there's 5 on the ballot. So the challenges were upheld, I guess. Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think the newspaper said they survived. They survived there.
Seems a little dramatic.
A little bit dramatic. So we just wanted to spend some time and explain what this process is about, and that as a candidate, I can speak for myself. I don't want to speak for you. I know you're scared.
Okay. You.
I feel that we have to uphold that law, that we have to stay true to what the law says, that if we step outside of that and we start submitting shoddy paperwork and things aren't correct, that we should be called out by the voters of our district and told, no, you shouldn't run for office. And that it's not politics, if you will. It is
Black and white
legal way of handling elections. When you turn in your packet, and maybe I should have said this at the beginning, when you turn in your packet, the village staff or even the village clerk, whoever accepts that paperwork, is looking for, it's literally written on the front, apparent conformity. Apparent conformity. They are not validating signatures. They are not validating whether they all live in the district. They're not looking at every single notary stamp and making sure that it's all 100% perfect and that everything is where it needs to be and all of that. They're looking at, yeah, it looks right. But they're not saying legally your packet is gold.
Right.
Right. The election law says that is up to the voters of the district to hold those running for office accountable. And that's what we saw here.
Yeah. I've said this before in meetings. This quote before is that just because we don't like a law doesn't mean we can't use it. Right. And so in my mind, like, if these laws are written, they're written for a reason. And if you don't like them, then you need to be lobbying with the state to change how this is done rather than dismissing it. So that's all.
Right.
So we both talked about when we ran for office, reducing the amount of legal nonsense that we get the village in. And I think that that's because both of us has tried to keep things as black and white as possible and stay away from that like gray area.
And we've done that. High five.
I don't know. Have we?
We have. We have not.
There's not been major lawsuits since we've been on the board.
Not got into $1 million lawsuit with a trucking company or anything else.
Yeah. So, but we just really wanted to come on here to just explain it, make it simple, make it easy to follow, and that's it.
And I'm happy to answer questions. I'm no lawyer by any means.
I'm not happy to answer questions.
Okay. But I've been through this process a couple of times. And I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Sorry, I can't really even pull that one. But,
the bottom line is this process is a mess and it is a debacle to fill out. And these forms are tedious and they suck and everyone's on edge when they do them. But, for you and myself and Robin, who all did it correctly and didn't get challenged, it is a little bit frustrating that the same standards weren't applied across the board.
Correct.
And that's the end of my opinion.
All right. So that's it. Now that the camera's back on, because it cuts off after 30 minutes. Thanks, cameras.
So how far did you get?
I don't know. I mean, the audio was recording the whole time.
Oh, so can
but
we?
not the video.
So
So I'll just put up, a picture of me dancing or something.
Please do. All right, good.
Yeah.
That works. All right,
Or maybe
cool.
that gif of you saying, "I'll be damned."
Don't you dare. That is not applicable to this situation.
That's
It would
true.
be
That
taken
would
out of
actually
context.
Way out of context.
Thank you, Eric, for that.
Yep. So I have to say one last thing. This is nothing personal against any of the
Anybody.
candidates.
No.
This is part of the process. And I don't think that it brings any embarrassment or shame among any of the candidates. I don't think it brings any to the village. This is the process. This is how this goes. Sometimes there's objections, sometimes there's not. Yeah. In this election cycle, there was. The candidates are still on the ballot.
Right.
And whether Ms. Voss decides to take it to the next step, which is the circuit court, that's going to be on her to decide. And we'll see what that looks like.
But
As
for
of the
now,
recording of this,
right.
there's 5 candidates on the ballot.
Exactly.
And the voters will get to make a decision in April. Yeah, well, actually beginning mid-March for early voting and mail-in balloting.
Let me just.
How's your anxiety? So April 3rd, please vote for me.
My anxiety. I can't handle it. And we'll be back on Tuesday with another episode of this.
Yeah, we'll be back here Tuesday. This is Saturday, so today's January 7th that we're getting to sit down and film this, and we have an 810-page packet to review before Monday night's board meeting.
Well, I mean, I hope you've already started it. No.
I have.
Okay, good. I was like,
But I looked at the page number and was like,
there's a lot of
there's a lot of
information in
data.
that. So
yeah.
my husband hates these weekends.
Yeah, early morning coffee and sit there with the iPad.
Yeah.
And read.
Yeah.
And read. And read.
Just keep scrolling. It's fine. So, all right, we've lost every viewer we have now. And that's it.
Both of them?
Both my mom and Russ are now out. They stopped watching.
Yep.
Marty, are you still watching?
Yep.
That's it.
Awesome.
So
All right.
we'll see you
Well, thank
on
you. We'll see you
Tuesday.
in the next episode, and have a great week.